Hello, class. Welcome to Moon School. I am your quote unquote Professor Amora Moon, and we'll be going through some weird topics just so we can get up to speed. It isn't a big topic yet. We are not doing big topics yet. We are just gonna take a little different route to the strange and unusual. We are starting today off in a pretty like niche area today, class. We are starting off with, and all my class and all my spoopies in my class, we are starting today off with some UFO stories, right? And it's a very niche topic in UFO stories. It's weird UFO stories. Now we before we get started, I want to remind everybody out there that we will need your undivided attention, no distractions. Please put your cell phones up. Or if you're watching this on your cell phone, thank you so much. I'm not giving up this bit of being your school teacher, so we are going to keep going. Please take notes and hold your questions for the end. So, in Moon School, I'm going to give you a little um, sort of background on what Moon School is. Moon School is just about our education on the paranormal. There's a lot of stories out there that we don't know, that we're not familiar with. I think a lot of people are familiar with like UFO stories, that like people see UFOs, or like maybe weird ghost stories. Maybe they've heard of Ed and Lorraine Warren, or if they've heard of like any of the Ghost Hunters International, Ghost Adventures, um, you know, whatever way you've gotten to ghost, that's one way you've had seen paranormal stories. And then we have also, if you've ever watched Finding Bigfoot or anything close to that, any sort of Bigfoot programming, that's where we learn about Bigfoot. And then for anything else, like Small Town Monsters does a good job as well in doing like the cryptid stuff. So we're getting, and then of course like the UFO shows, like um, Ancient Aliens, things like that. That's where we're getting our information from. And so I was just wanting to consolidate that a little bit more, and maybe to some weirder UFO stories that you haven't heard of, because you don't want to watch the History Channel or you don't want to watch Discovery Plus. I just wanted to do sort of like informational learning, I guess. So if this is boring to you, I definitely apologize. This will also be up on my YouTube, and it will be up on my Twitch, I guess, clips from it. But it'll be on my YouTube for sure. If you would like to go back and sort of hash out anything, or if you have any questions, feel free to be there. If you're not already following me, just look up Amora Moon on there, and you should see my profile. It should be like pretty close to the top. You'll see my like icon, and but yeah. So um, without further ado, I want to also talk about like what what Moon School isn't, and Moon School isn't going to be like super like a more in the paranormal, or what is now known as waxing weird. It's not going to be anything like that. It's not going to be talk show based. It's going to be like me just talking to you. And if you have any questions or anything like that, this is more of putting that information out there. Again, I would love questions. If you could hold those to the end, I would love to answer all those. Or if you have any questions later on, just hit me up on Twitter. It's AdamOrMoonVT. You should all know that by now, but that is Moon School. Moon School won't be anything like it's not gonna be super boring. I'm gonna have like good stories and also good information for you to enjoy. And I'll save like the boring bits for like just YouTube only. We'll do that. But for all these like weird UFO stories or like weird cryptids or funny cryptids or whatever, we will do those live. And yeah, and it's different from Mysterious Monday or Weird Wednesday too, because we're not looking at news. We are just looking at history. In it's a history course mixed with like a literature course mixed with sort of like pseudoscience a little bit too. So yeah, and a little bit of math in there. So it's like all combined into one. We're looking through paranormal history and looking at cool stories that you might not hear about. So again, without further ado, let's get to our topic today. And our topic today, slideshow did not slideshow. So it did not move. That's weird. Wait a minute. There we go. That's better. I think, well, weird UFO stories. And this will be part one of our weird UFO stories. Also, if you like the podium, let me know. I really liked it and thought it was funny. And thought it would be a good idea to have sort of a podium while I'm talking. So here we go. So weird UFO stories part one. And then you see the Professor Amora moon. It's so funny and cheeky. Let's see. So first off, whenever we're talking about UFOs, we have to define what they are. So UFOs, or what they've been called by government agencies here recently, is any aerial object or optical phenomenon not readily identifiable to the observer. So yeah, that's plain and simple. Anything in the sky that you can see that you can't identify, right? And who occupies if these craft is unknown, or if they are occupied by anything is also unknown as well. And then we're also going to like distinguish a little bit of the UFO shapes. Like I think shapes are a big thing here recently in UFO, like getting big in UFO sort of science, ufology, and just layman's ideas of UFO, right? So we're used to like the saucer shape in the bottom right corner of the screen. We're used to that shape. Yeah, we're definitely used to that shape. And then we also have seen in past of like triangle shapes, fireball shapes, or if you turn around the fireball, it looks really like a jellyfish almost. So like the jellyfish shape. We have diamond shape, egg shaped, and all of these UFOs have been seen by people, throughout history and throughout ufology. As you can see in the top right corner, that's more of a saucer. Again, the triangle shape UFOs are seen a lot in the Appalachian territories, I guess. And you see boomerang and all sorts of different shapes. So they come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Yeah. Let's see. And then in ufology, we want to distinguish close encounters. I think like this is a great place to start, and it's probably something that I'm going to return to multiple times throughout talking about UFOs. It's this idea of close encounters, and in ufology, a close encounter is an event which a person witnesses a UFO. This terminology and the system of classification behind it were first suggested in astronomer and UFO researcher J. Allen Hynek, big name in the ufology world. So if you are interested in ufology and the ufology's history, J. Allen Hynek's work is a good place to start. But in his book, 1972 book, The UFO Experience, A Scientific Inquiry, categories beyond Hynek's original three have been added by others, but have not gained universal acceptance, mainly because they lack the scientific rigor that Hynek aimed to bring to ufology. Right, and then we are gonna touch on those close encounters right now. So Hynek devised a six-fold classification for UFO sightings. All right. So first, nocturnal lights in the sky. You know, daylight disk, anything that you see in the daytime that you can see with your naked eye, and radar visual being the third one. So anything that pops up on radar, but also radar propagation can occasionally be discredited due to atmospheric propagation anomalies. So there could be anomalies in there, and so they aren't really that big into taking that as like super evidence based. You can always discredit that. All right, and then close encounters of the first kind. So are a CE1. It's visual sightings of the UFO seemingly less than 500 feet or 150 meters away that show an appreciable angular extension and considerable detail. So if you're less than 500 feet away or 150 meters away, that's what's called a close encounter of the first kind. Close encounters of the second kind, or CE2, is a UFO event in which a physical effect is alleged. This can be interference in the functioning of a vehicle or an electronic device, animals reacting to it, a physiological effect such as paralysis or heat and discomfort in the witness, or any like radiation burns or any sort of chemical trace through vegetation or scorched earth or anything like that. So if it affects you in any way or affects the animals nearby or the machinations of your car, then that is a close encounter of the second kind. Close encounters of the third kind, or CE3, is a UFO encounter which an animated entity is present. These include humanoids, robots, and humans who seem to be occupants or pilots of a UFO. So if you see them, that's a close encounter of the third kind, right? If you see these occupants. And then there is extra non-Hynek scales that has been added on for close encounters. One big one that I would like to talk about later on, and it's going to be a part of Moon School and also going to be a part of Waxing Weird in the later coming years, later coming months, years, however long it takes us to get there. But I want to talk about close encounters of the fourth kind. Now, where Close Encounters of the Third Kind, you know that from, if you've watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the movie by Steven Spielberg, that's a great movie. I would encourage anybody that's into ufology to give that a watch. It is definitely interesting. And I think J. Allen Hynek was like helped out in that process as well, because Steven Spielberg was interested in the topic as well. And so they talked and not necessarily collaborated, but he helped out with the project itself. And so definitely good movie. It's definitely strange, and but the next Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind, there's a movie based off of that. And the Fourth Kind, I genuinely thought that this movie was the real deal on a real account, but it's all fake. It plays it out like it's a documentary of Mila Jovovich being the main actress in it. The main, like, she is doing a recount of like actual events that happened, and turns out like no, none of that happened. It was just like a false documentary that they made into something real. Like, it made it look real, right? But this is where it comes from, the fourth kind. It's a UFO event in which a human is abducted by a UFO or its occupants. right? So the fourth kind had to do with abductions in this small town in Anchorage, Alaska. I would give it a watch anyway. It's very scary. It definitely scared me. Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. This was proposed by Stephen Greer, ufologist, like famed ufologist in, I forget what the project that he worked on. Let me check my notes. Checks notes. Let's see. Gotta find it in my notes. Yeah, I definitely. So. Yeah, I don't have it in my notes right now, so I'm gonna have to look that up later. But Stephen Greer, famed ufologist, give him a Google. So he came up with the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It refers to human-initiated contact with extraterrestrial life forms or advanced interstellar civilizations claiming direct communication between aliens and humans. So this is like you reaching out to the aliens, is the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And just before we even get started, I will be taking a huge deep dive into ufology's history, but that'll be on a later episode. We're going to talk about Project Blue Book. We're going to talk about J. Allen Hynek. But before we even do that, I wanted to start off Moon School with something like light and refreshing and something that's not even, close to boring history right now. It is definitely interesting to figure out like where we're coming from so we can know where we're going in this crazy thing of ufology. But also, I don't want to get like too caught up in the details and the weirdness in the weirdness of ufology. But we'll get there for sure. But right now, we're going to start off with some good old ufology stories, and weird ufology stories. And let me turn the page on my notes. I'm going to start off with the Phoenix Lights. Seen here. All right, the blurry picture from 1997. The blurry imagery because the quality of camera wasn't that great back in the 90s, the late 90s even. So what are they? What are the Phoenix Lights? So the Phoenix Lights are a series of widely sighted UFOs observed in skies over a lot of southwestern states, but mostly Arizona and Nevada. And they were observed on March 13th, 1997. And, in Phoenix, Arizona, but also people saw them in Nevada. So, between, also, just little known fact about the Phoenix Lights. They were actually seen by Kurt Russell, famed actor Kurt Russell. He saw them, and I think he was one of the first people to report seeing the Phoenix Lights. So interesting how Kurt Russell figures into ufology. So it happened between 7:30 and 10:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, within a space about 300 miles or 480 kilometers, right? Thousands of people saw lights, again, including Kurt Russell. He was actor and then amateur pilot as well, and he saw all these lights in the sky. They were in a triangular formation, and they were stationary. And I would like to, let me get this real quick. I'm going to turn off the slideshow real quick, because I'd like to share with you just a real quick video. It's not real quick, it's like 20-minute video, but it's like news from the Phoenix Lights, and it's a video on the Phoenix Lights, and I think they do a better idea of explanation of it, and then we'll come right back. So let us see, where is it? There it is. Oh, Let me see. I need the audio on. And there we go.
I got 4 of them. Major sighting here.
Well, I saw a huge craft just kind of come right over Squaw Peak. That was, it was just breathtaking.
No, I'm on.
Let me see. I could put it.
Maybe you could zero it in on there.
Fireball.
2 of them side by side.
Yeah, it does
Maybe
look
that's
like
why
there's
it's so
a-
yellow when there's the 2 of them make it.
This is the location. This is Steve right here. He's the one who kind of got it. There's Rhonda, pool, puppy. Let's get back to the saucer.
I don't know if I'm tall enough.
You want to lower it?
I need a chair.
I got another spotting scope somewhere here if somebody wants to look through that too. There's 2 side by side. This is slightly different.
There's another one. Oh, look. One, two. There's another
Wait,
one.
where?
Chimney. There's another one, too.
Where?
There's
Oh, look at that.
There's another one.
No, we're just excited. We're not.
They keep coming. There's
Wait, I see. Whoa, look at them.
I got that one on video.
There's just 4 of them. Look at there's 3 of them all together.
I got the 3rd one popping in.
Lower to your left.
There's one behind the chimney. Okay, one just flared up.
I got 4 of them.
another one.
Major sighting here.
No, there's 5.
Oh,
Another one just showed up.
They're multiplying.
whoa.
Maybe somebody's setting up lights.
see that?
No, those are in the sky.
There's one underneath the house, too.
There's one behind that chimney. We
Look, come
need to go to
over here.
Pecos.
I can't see how this works. How does this work?
Holy
Oh, you got it too
shit.
high.
Have you seen that before?
No.
That's weird.
They're lined up in a pattern, man. There's geometry behind this.
I can't even get
The
this.
m-
I've never seen it. Look at that.
Man, this is
What is this? What is
Let's
this?
see. Oh, there's 3 of them all lined up.
No,
4,
there's
Bill.
one
Bill,
over
Bill,
here.
over here,
Come
there's
over
4.
Come look.
Yeah, I see.
Over the top right now. I don't know, but I got it on tape.
They just appeared. They didn't even fly in.
What does it look like, Bill?
They just appeared. What do they look like in your camera?
They look like,
What do they look like? Is it like this sphere before?
yeah, they're spears now.
Are they complete circles or cut
Yeah,
off?
they just transformed into circles right now, right as you were talking. Now now they're not spears.
Well, see the way we saw them.
Hey, Stephen Greer missed out, didn't he, Bill?
Hey, Stephen Greer mentioned.
You seen this before?
Nope. This isn't first for me.
Anything like it?
I have similar video of this from other people.
See, that one's
You
drifting.
just see little orange things. The way we were seeing them, when you see them big,
See a gyro.
they're big and they're moving and they have an eye to them.
Do you see an eye? Like a bullseye?
No.
Did you show them the tape already? Did you see the other tape? Yeah. See the eye? That was down.
This just looks like
Out of focus here. We got major hockey puck activity.
I just think it's funny that Stephen Greer shot
I think
out.
the one on the left may split in half. It's
See, it's drifting down.
It seemed like the one on the right split there for a minute.
how many is there? I got 4.
and they just started going.
The other one faded away.
The other one went by.
Behind a tree. I got 3 lined up. Oh no, I forgot to hit the record button.
There's only 3 and they're going down now.
Oh gosh, little did you know.
Yeah,
hit
I'm just
record.
kidding.
Oh, okay, sweet.
We need the video camera to put, like you have last with Curry.
Anybody got a still camera, 35 millimeter? Hey, look, the one in the middle's doing something. It's going out of alignment.
Yeah, it's going out of alignment.
It's dropping.
Be changing.
The one on the left, did it drop off?
No, the one in the middle is dropping slightly, and it's the one on the right's blinking. No, that's because it's going behind a tree now. They're definitely moving.
Wait, where'd the other one go?
No, one is went behind a tree or something. The one on the right will be gone in a minute as soon as it goes behind the... Yeah, let's go in a minute here. Okay, number 2. We're down to 1.
That's so weird how it like went down to 1
It's winking out or something.
already.
Yeah.
But there was no, like the Clinton day, no.
No. No, I was on a strict diet. No, I'm serious. I'm serious now. That unquestionably it was a UFO, which means unidentified flying object.
Right. Doesn't mean we're being visited.
Well, it's nothing like anything I've ever seen.
And you're an Air Force guy.
Yeah, and a pilot. Got a lot of hours flying, so it was pretty breathtaking. And I'll never forget. I snuck out to see it, without DPS, which I'm not supposed to be driving my own car and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, but I told Ann what I was doing. I was going to go up to Squaw Peak and see what everybody was, clamoring about. And when I walked in the front door, she looked at me, and I was apparently just, normally I'm fair complected and pale anyway, right? And she said, "Oh my gosh," she said, "she looked like a ghost. What did you see?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what I saw, but it was really something, and I'm not going to talk about it." And
Wow.
so,
Did it frighten you?
No, I think I was kind of in awe, really,
How big?
Bigger than anything I've ever seen in the sky.
Like an aircraft carrier in the sky?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. And it was hard to define because of the light in terms of the size, but it was absolutely silent and had sort of eerie embedded lights, and so that's what I saw, and I wasn't expecting to see anything because I was looking out over at Luke
Right.
to the west, and then all of a sudden these people in the park area just on the west side of 51, there were a bunch of people there. Everybody said, "Oh, look at that." And we turned around, and this thing was coming from the northwest, traveling to the southeast.
We now know, and it really hit me.
So yeah, I was just going to show that video real quick. Let's get back to take off the screen and then get back to my slideshow. So yeah, so it's triangular form and stationary. A lot of skeptics and people who've tried to debunk it, including author Robert Schaefer, offered the that they were two unrelated incidents. The first flying triangle was supposedly 5 A-10 jets, and I don't have pictures of those jets. But yeah, and they were just a row of lights. And then the second incident was just the flare drops exercises. But the A-10 jets were a part of an operation called Operation Snowbird, which was pilot training for the Air National Guard, coming out of Davis Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson. That's what author Robert Schaefer has sort of tried to debunk it as well. And then Lieutenant Colonel Ed Jones confirmed in March 2007 that he flew one of the A-10 jets that dropped flares testing during that night on March 13th, 1997. I think he's the other one. And some other people have tried to do comparisons of flare drops in a closely related area, and it showed that they looked like flare drops that people have dropped. So that's sort of ways that people are trying to debunk it. Whether you believe it or not, the governor of the 19th governor of Arizona there, giving his own testimony of, he's like, I don't know what they are, and him being a pilot and him being like in the Air Force is very telling. And then people just all around, seeing different things from different vantage points, is something that gives you pause. So whatever the Phoenix lights were, it's definitely something weird, and it's something that begs the question: were those A-10 jets, or were they something different, something more? But on to the next. And if, again, save your questions for later on, and we will get to them, or put them in the comments or in the chat. But also, message me. I mean, you can message me, or tag me on Twitter. So, the next UFO story that I would like to get to, and is it pulling up on there? Sweet. Is Joe Simonton, and this is one of my favorite UFO stories. Whenever I first heard it, I've gotten super giddy. Super giddy about it. But it is the Joe Simonton UFO encounter. So Joe Simonton's pancakes. If you like pancakes, stick around. This'll definitely. I think Joe Simonton's house is probably if not international, the national house of pancakes, right? And I'll say that right now. So the incident took place near Joe Simonton's house. It took place on April 18th, 1961. And the age range of the late 50s, early 60-year-old plumber, Joe Simonton. That's who we're talking about. And it took place near his house, which is about 4 miles west of Eagle River, Wisconsin. Yeah. So, jumping right in. So his wife was in Chicago at work. She worked at a department store there, where she made ends meet as well. He, at the time of the incident, was doing dishes at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. And he heard a screech. He heard something like the screech of an automobile wheel as a car goes around a sharp, fast bend, right? He looked out the window, and he saw a large, shiny metal object coming down, as he says, coming down straight like an elevator. He thought his roof was off his house because it was huge. Like, it was a elevator. It was shaking his house so much. It was a silvery craft, as he puts it, brighter than chrome. He said it looked like two plates or bowls, one inverted over the top of the other. He gave a approximation that it was about 30 feet in diameter and about 12 feet tall. It hovered, but it did not touch the ground. It was then that Joe Simonton saw a hatch open. And it was like, he explained it saying that it was just like the trunk of your car opening. And then as he puts it, a small person, around 5 feet tall, dark complected, like probably tan complected, like an Italian, he put it. Completely, the entity was completely hairless, had a completely hairless face, tight fitting cap. And Joe Simonton estimated that it was, this entity was about 120 pounds. So, yeah. And he was strangely dressed. And so this is a painting, this to the right is a painting of the incident, of what happened and what looked, all the things that happened. So, the Saucer Man, we'll call this entity the Saucer Man, motioned by tipping his head backward and making a motion as if he was drinking water. He handed Simonton a metallic tureen or bowl with two handles on the side. Joe Simonton said that his gaze was so penetrating. He said, I looked at his eyes, and it was so penetrating that I had to look away. But Joe Simonton decides, okay, guess what? I'm going to go fill this tureen with water. And Joe Simonton returned back and handed, was about to hand his the tureen back to the saucer man. And Simonton leaned his left hand to steady himself, and hand the tureen to the pilot. The investigator at the time of this incident decided to examine Simonton's left hand to see if there was any, like I've talked about before in the Close Encounters thing, of like if there was any sort of burns or radiation burns or any sign of radiation on Simonton's left hand, because he put his hand on the the craft. Simon also, going back to the encounter, Simonton noticed 2 more beings in the craft, right? And he noticed that they were all dressed alike in a one-piece tunic, with no belts or zippers, with a hood over their head, and it was like black jersey material. The one who asked for water had a white stripe down the side. Probably, as Joe Simonton thought, it was probably because he was a higher rank, quote unquote, than the other 2. The other 2 seemed to be chained or belted to what they were doing, right? As that's the Turner phrase that Simonton said. They were like chained or belted to what they were doing. They were locked into. One of those was on a panel or control board, and the other seemed to be cooking. And so Joe Simonton was very curious to what the other entity was cooking. He said that it was like a square grill-like thing, right? With he said it looked hot, but there were no flames, but there was smoke coming off of whatever he was making. So Simonton was very interested in what the guy was making, or what the entity was making, and decided to ask for it. And the saucer man decided to give him, in I guess in exchange for the water, give him whatever they were cooking. So Simonton said that they were closely related to something like pancakes, which in this picture, Simonton holding the quote-unquote pancake, it just looks weird. He said they were closely associated to pancakes, and so they gave him four small pancakes, basically. As Joe Simonton said, they were hot and greasy, and he even took a bite of one. And he said, and I quote, "If that was their food, God help them, because it tasted like cardboard." So this was not the best delicacy that they gave Joe. He later also showed Judge Franklin Carter, and Judge Franklin Carter of the area said that they were rubbery. They were 3 inches across, and they were perforated with holes. So that was corroborated by Judge Franklin Carter. So after all this happens, all this goes down, the water is exchanged with the pancakes, I guess. The saucer man tips placed the tips of his right hand on his forehead and withdrew it like a salute, Joe Simonton says. And the latch shut. Latch shut, and the ship rose 20 feet and went at a 45-degree angle and shot forth towards the south, Simonton says. So, big thing on Joe Simonton. It closely related to, and this is my book recommendation of the, of Moon School. This is a big book recommendation of Moon School. So the big question, because it was food related and the exchange of food was closely associated, to me, like that put me knowing like Fae lore before I knew this story made me think, were these aliens or were they Fae? And then I thought to myself, because I like in the spaces I travel, are they one and the same? Could they be one and the same? Anyway, but before I go on that rant and down that rabbit hole of woo, I want you to pick up A Trojan Feast. It is a great book by Joshua Cutchin. I have a copy with me right now, and I think it's definitely something that you need if you want to look at food as it pertains to aliens, fairies, and Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it. I think that you would love this book. So it's on the Moon School recommends, or Amora recommends for this week. It is A Trojan Feast, The Food and Drink Offerings of Aliens, Fairies, and Sasquatch by Joshua Cutchin. Highly recommend. So yeah, go read that book. If you even thought the Joe Simonton story was a little interesting, go read that book. And this begs the question, again, I'm going to have a question for you right now. Would you eat the pancakes? Would you save the pancakes? Do you think they're pancakes? After looking at this picture, do you think that these are pancakes? It's the questions that we need to be asking. Finally, to, again, one of my favorite sort of UFO stories too. Joe Simonton is probably up there with my favorite UFO story. There's a lot of favorite like alien encounters or abduction stories that I have. And I hate to say favorite abduction story because it's kind of insensitive to people who have been, abducted by extraterrestrials or ultraterrestrials or who they say they have, who have remembered that. So I'm not going to say favorite abduction, but it's one of the more interesting. I have a lot of those, but in UFO sightings, this is probably one of my funniest ones, and I think this is going to be the last one of class today. I think you all will enjoy it. Let me get my notes. Alrighty. So, it is the strange case of the tiny UFO, and I had to scour, I had to look everywhere for just a little tiny UFO picture. I really like this one. It's pretty cute, don't you think? But yeah, so let's keep going. So, it's the flaming egg-shaped UFO. So, where is this going down? This is going down in Moneymore, Northern Ireland. So we are in Ireland for this story. And shout outs to the Irish. Love y'all. And I'm so glad that getting like stories from Ireland and from the UK is so cool. Because it's like two different, it's like the land of the Fae with Ireland and UK, I mean, big land of the Fae that we get UFO stories like this, and it just makes me giddy every time I read them. So, when did this happen? This happened in September 8th, the 8th of September in 1956. So in the 50s. Give that warning, like, have that in your head. No iPhones, no cameras, nothing like that. Just like, also, I don't know if everybody had a motor vehicle in 1956 because I don't think so. And that will be explained as well later on. And who's this happening to? This is happening to Irishman Thomas J. Hutchinson of Moneymore. But yeah. What was seen? Hutchinson swore to police that he captured a flaming red flying saucer, but it got away. He stated that there were several unusual features, including red marks and stripes, and it was egg-shaped. Yeah, he was sitting at home. Let me see. Yeah, he was sitting at home with his wife, Maud, at about noon that day when the object dropped from low clouds to the only dry piece of ground in the middle of the bog, only 200 yards from his front door. Also, real weird thing that it's happening like midday, like these UFO sightings, besides like the Phoenix Lights that's happening at night. The two other stories that I have are happening in midday. Weird. I just put two and two together there. Let's go on. Him and his wife went through the bog and found the object lying stationary. They said it was about 3 foot tall and 18 inches in diameter. And again, he said that they stated there were several unusual features, including red marks and red stripes, and it was egg-shaped. So something similar to what's on the screen right now. This is just like a mock-up, again, of like using primitive tools. But yeah, it's like a mock-up of the device. So 3 foot high and 18 inches in diameter, if you're looking at that. He said he kicked it over, but it returned to its original position. So, like anybody out in the country, they kicked at it. You know? It is very telling that even in the country here, the country people over in Ireland also just kick things. That's just very strange. But he kicked it over, but it returned to its original position by itself. He got down on his hands and knees to examine it closer, and he said the object began to spin, which is interesting, and in itself, it began to spin. He decided right there to put it in a hammer lock, but he said it was pretty powerful, so it was giving him way. He decided to take the object to the police station and decided to carry it there. And he's going from, if you can see the bottom of the screen, Moneymore is at the very bottom, and he is going to Loop, which is like a day's walk, if that's the right loop that it's talking about. He was trying to go to the village of Loop. So he's deciding to carry it all the way there, I believe. Which, I mapped that out. Google Maps says that that's a 28-hour from Moneymore all the way. And it could be outside of Moneymore, right? But that's still a 28-hour walk. He's going to Loop, which is like a big hub where there's a big police station. So that's where he's going. So he decided to carry it to the police station. But on the way to the village of Loop, Hutchinson had to get through a hedge. He stated he put the object down for a moment, just for a moment, and it started spinning again, like it did before. Before he had time to throw himself on the object, it rose quickly and disappeared out of there. And so you might be thinking, what in the world? Okay, that, funny story, great, that, what a coincidence that it just popped out of nowhere, that you had to put it down and just left, right? So, there's a lot of interesting tells on that. but there's been character witness, and we'll get to that character witnesses later. So he had an oopsie, right? He put it down for a second and it took off, right? So J. Allen Hynek, who I discussed previously, and his Project Blue Book had no file on this incident, right? Had no file on this incident. But there are 3 news clippings on this story, to which we'll get to here in a minute as well. I'll show you one of the news clippings of this story. And there was also a quote from famed ufologist Gray Barker. So the reason I'm putting these 2 entities together is Gray Barker, a very well-known ufologist. He's also a trickster and, like, you know, all sorts of things. I want to get to Gray Barker. I think I will do a probably a moon school over Gray Barker, because I think he's very important. And I think, like, the opposite side of the same coin, I guess, or the same side of the coin, with John Keel as well. I'll probably do like a John Keel versus Gray Barker. I just think they're important. I mean, they're really important to ufology, but also just to the paranormal in general. But yeah, so quote from Gray Barker, who thought it might have been a small unmanned alien reconnaissance craft or drone. So you have people that aren't really interested in this story, and then you have Gray Barker, who's like, yeah, this is what I think. It was just like a drone. It was unmanned. This is what happened. So just 2 differing ideas of that. And then here's this UFO clipping. It's coming from Nampa, Idaho Free Press on September 10th, 1956. And if you want to give that a read through, I think it's very important that you give a read through. It's basically what I already said. I got most of my information from it, and some other sources as well. And I also will link my sources. I cited my sources as well. But going back to the matter of Hutchinson, the man that this all happened to, Royal Air Force officer thought that the encounter, the object encountered by Hutchinson was this stray meteorological I cannot say that, balloon. So weather balloon, small weather balloon. This was also the police station's position as well, which is really funny because, like the Roswell incident was very close to this. And what did they say that the UFO was? A stray weather balloon. And so the weather balloon, the swamp gas, which was, I think, made by J. Allen Hynek too, if I'm not mistaken. He's the guy that was like, oh yeah, like it's swamp gas. But I think that's a big excuse. It's a weather balloon, ipso facto. And if you haven't seen a weather balloon, Google that, because it's very much what people think UFOs are, or what people blamed the UFO anomalies on. They were weather balloons. So this was the position of the Loop police station as well. But the desk sergeant at the Loop police station stated that Thomas Hutchinson, quote unquote, Thomas Hutchinson is a level-head, God-fearing chap. He's not the type of man who would imagine he seized a flying saucer if in fact he didn't have one. So just a corroboration on the character of Thomas Hutchinson. Whether this technology was secret technology from somebody else around the world that nobody knew about, that was self-flying or remote controlled in some way, or whether this was an alien craft, right? The fact that it spun, and the fact that he says what he says, Thomas Hutchinson says, like, this is what happened. Me and Maud were at home. This entity, or this object landed 200 yards from our front door. We went to go check on it. It started spinning. Well, like I kicked it over. It popped back up. It started spinning. I decided to take it, and then it flew off whenever it had the moment's notice. Sort of sentient, sort of feeling of remote controlled. I don't know what it is, but the desk sergeant at the Loop police station thinks that Thomas Hutchinson wouldn't lie about something like that. And I would believe Thomas Hutchinson. I don't think that he was fabricating this. I truly believe that he believed what he felt and saw was something strange and something that he wasn't used to, especially being in 1956, where I don't know if the technology could even reach that. So that begs the question. Do you have any questions? If anybody has any questions, feel free to look in the chat. Feel free to look at the chat. You can talk, and let's see who if you have any questions about anything that I've discussed today. If you have any ideas of anything that I've discussed today, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear your stories about UFO stuff as well. Let me also get, if you don't have any questions, let me get to my citations. I got to give you my citations. A lot of Wikipedia pages. Brad Warner's Alien Pancakes on Hardcore Zen. Talking about the Joe Simonton case. And then Shane Cochran, World UFO Day. But yeah. Sort of getting a lot of Irish, trying to get a little Irish citations in there as well. But yeah, so that is my weird UFO stories of today. I knew it was going to be short. This will be, again, up on YouTube whenever I decide to put it on YouTube. So you can catch it there if you missed anything. And if you have any questions, remember, hit me up. You can hit me up in chat right now if you'd like, but if you don't want to do that, you can hit me up on the YouTube comments, or you can ask me if you at me on Twitter. What did you think of the Joe Simonton case? What did you think of the Phoenix Lights? Do you think those are? It was just a naval? Do you believe the military? Joe Simonton, do you believe that he ate those pancakes? Those pancakes are still held somewhere. I believe, I don't remember where they're being held, but they're in a museum. But yeah, they look like that, like really perforated pancakes. Little tiny little holes all in them. So if you have that like phobia where you can't look at tiny holes, don't look at it. But they got the pancakes. He said they tasted awful. He said also that they did not, it's like they didn't use sugar or salt. And would you eat those? Would you not eat those? Yeah, those are the questions. And then finally, for the tiny UFO, do you believe Thomas J. Hutchinson? Do you believe him? Do you think like that is a believable story? Or do you think it's all hogwash? Just let me know. I'd love to hear. If you have a story of high strangeness, or you've seen a UFO, or if you held a UFO, or you've eaten the pancakes, whatever that means, I need you to hit me up at mailforamora@gmail.com with those stories. I want to hear all about it. I want to hear about your UFO story, your Bigfoot story, your Chupacabra, your Lechuza story. Like, tell me about it. I want to hear all about it. Or any other weird paranormal thing that you've seen. I want to hear all about it. So hit me up at mailforamora@gmail.com with all of those weird stories. I'd love to hear about them. Again, this was just a little testy test of Moon School and what it would be like And these were just 3 stories. This has been Weird UFO Part 1. And I just want to say, hope you have a great day. Be safe this weekend. But remember to keep your eyes peeled for something weird. And again, I'd love to hear about it if you see something weird. And if you want to see Bigfoot, I hope you do. And if you want to talk to a ghost, I hope you do. If you don't, that's okay too. Alrighty. Bye, and class is dismissed. I need to get like a bell, but class is dismissed. Have a great night. Goodbye.